Hi, welcome to Future Fast. And once again, I must say that it's an anniversary edition, if I can actually say that. It's 1 year since we started Future Fast, and I'm very happy and excited. And also, importantly, that we have a very special guest today. So before I bring him on to the conversation, I hope you're enjoying Future Fast. I hope you had a great start to the year, and I wish all the listeners and audience a very happy New Year wherever you are in the world. And if you're not yet subscribed to Future Fast, time to do it now because this year is going to be very exciting and together we'll make it exciting as well. And with that, we have Dr. Vivek Mansingh. Dr. Vivek Mansingh is general partner, YourNest VC Fund. He's been the chairman and board member of multiple organizations, global leader, entrepreneur, innovator, TED speaker, and not the least of all is the best-selling author, which we will talk about it. Dr. Vivek Mansingh, welcome to Future Fast.
Thank you for having me. I'm looking forward to wonderful interaction for the next hour or so.
Thank you so much. So, Dr. Vivek, we like to start with the journey of our guests. So, of course, many would be familiar with you, but for the whole lot of our audience who may not be, can you please share your journey?
Yes, and it's a long journey. I am now 67 years old, so a lot to share, but I will describe it in brief. I was born in a small city in India, and my college education was there, a small city called Fatehpur in Indian state of UP. Did my college level there. After that, I did my engineering from NIT Allahabad. At that time, it was Regional Engineering College. I was an avid sports person, and I was also topper of my engineering class. And then I got scholarship to go and do my PhD from Queens in Canada, where I studied mechanical engineering and did my master's and PhD. After that, I started my career in Silicon Valley with Hewlett Packard and got a chance to work with and know actual Hewlett and Packard, David Packard and Bill Hewlett. We'll talk about it later. There, I filed my first patent. And then during that time, I also developed my own invention, which is an instrument that was very successful, is very successful. Actually, it is sold in almost all countries. We'll also talk about it, but that was my personal invention. And my road to financial independence, which I will also talk about because it's relevant to all the audience. After that, I did my own startup in US, which was quite successful. Then in 2000, and during that time, I did my Stanford Executive MBA. In 2000, when I was doing my startup, my mother had some medical challenges. We took her to US. And she was diagnosed kidney trouble, and the doctor gave us 6 months, her 6 months to live. This is a very turning point of my life. Me, my wife, and my children decided to return back to India to take care of my mother. We came to Bangalore, India, without any job, without any friends, without knowing where children will go to school and what will I do. But the only goal was to make sure that we take care of my mother, which we did, and everything sort of worked out. So in Bangalore, I worked for a couple of startups, which are India-US startups, and then Michael Dell pulled me in Dell. After working there, I worked with Cisco. John Chambers pulled me into Cisco. I was there. And then I retired from Cisco. And that is the time I joined or started venture capital fund. And I'll talk about my long-term goals at later point, then you will understand why. But I joined the venture capital business and started YourNest Venture Capital VC. And I'm also very actively pursuing a lot of my social goals. So from Fatehpur, where I come from, I have built a hospital for the less privileged people. I have built an eye hospital for them. I have run a school for handicapped children and many other social projects I do. I am on the board of a number of both profit and non-profit organizations. And I'm at heart a solid family person. So 6 US patents, 2 technology books, And then about a year and a half back, I wrote my book that you can see on the screen at the back. I'll talk about that later, but the purpose this book was written is because I wanted to mentor 1 million people, and we'll talk about that as well. So that is the journey in short. If I have to summarize it in one line, I am fortunate to work with David Packard, Bill Hewlett, Michael Dell, Steve Jobs, and John Chambers, learn from these people and share with lots and lots of people through my book and talks. So that's who I am.
Well, in fact, almost everybody would be familiar with the names that you mentioned. As somebody that you have actually personally worked with, and most of us would have read, heard, or followed them. Some of them, at least, still following. So it's wonderful, and thank you for putting such a huge journey in such a small capsule.
Thank you.
So I want to start with, before we discuss your book, I just wanted to talk about why does mentorship matter to you personally?
Yeah, it's an excellent question. Because my success is I'm a product of my mentors, literally, if I have to summarize it that way. I have had 10 odd mentors in my life, and my life journey is described in the book as well, who have really shaped me. Of course, some I selected and some I got through some connects, but let me describe where and how these mentors have played a key role in my journey, right? So my first mentor was actually my mother. As I said, I was born in a small city with average family background. So, colleges or schools where I went to were not top tier colleges. I didn't know how to speak in English up to when I finished my engineering and so on. So my mother was my first mentor. She did few things, she helped me aspire big. So even from those difficult situations, she encouraged me to aspire big. Think about doing big things. Number two, she gave me the role models. All of this I will talk about during the discussion with my book also, but she gave me the role models. Become like your uncle who was doing PhD, become like a cousin who was doing engineering at IIT, and so on. Right? Three, I think she grounded me with good values right from the beginning. And so that is where my journey began. My first mentor was my mother. My second mentor was my uncle. And I'm describing it in little detail because people need to see that Narayan Murthy cannot become everybody's mentor. You don't even need him at this stage. So my mother was second mentor was my uncle who was doing PhD in physics. And I said, okay, I want to be like him. He became my role model. And then third mentor became my professor under whom I did my PhD. Fourth mentor became my manager at Hewlett Packard, and so on. So all my journey, and I can give one or two more examples which are even more dynamic. Then I'll miss a couple of steps, but then my mentor became Professor Aviram Bar Cohen. He was a professor at Minnesota, and he became my mentor. Through his guidance, I became number one in my field in United States. That's how I got a chance to work with Steve Jobs. And so my whole journey, and even today, I have two mentors who are helping me with professional guidance. And I have several mentors who are helping me with my social impact journey. Again, these people have done better than what I have done. They have been there, done that, and I am learning from them. So mentoring has played a key role for me. I am a product of my mentors, and I strongly believe that every single person can do bigger and better things with the help of a mentor, irrespective of your profession, age, male, female, geography, it doesn't matter. And that is the beginning of the book. That is exactly why I wrote the book, because everyone needs a mentor. It is hard to find a mentor. So the book I wrote is actually a mentor. So I'll stop here, but mentors have played a big role, and I believe every single person on earth should have one or more mentors.
Well, that point is very well taken, but how do you how does one recognize that, okay, this is my mentor? Because one is that you always have multiple seniors, right? I mean, in the family, in the profession, in the schools that we go to. So how do you choose your mentor, or is the mentor chooses you?
No, excellent question. No, mentors will rarely choose you. There can be a corner case, 1 in 1,000, where mentor may choose you, but you have to choose the mentor and you have to chase them also. Sometimes it may be difficult to get their attention. But your point is very, very important. So how do we? So first, I think that is where book plays a very important role, because it tells you how to go about getting the mentors, first of all, right? So first 5 steps you can take from the book itself. What are those? For example, if I have to describe the book in one line, it is define who you aspire to be and then become that person. Define who you aspire to be and then become that person. 99% of people never define who they want to be. So if you don't know where you are going, any road is good. So first step is actually defining where you want to go. The moment you define, I want to be an engineer, I want to be a doctor, I want to be an entrepreneur, I want to be a professor. I'm talking about early stage for students, and immediately you will have an opportunity to find some mentors who have been there, done that before, right? So if you want to go and study engineering, I'm sure there are people in your circles who have done engineering before, and you go and make them mentors. If you are a professional and you want to do well, become director, VP, or whatever, your mentor could be the person who has been director and VP before. So mentors are all around us. We need to just set our goals. Once we know where we are going, there are a lot of people to show us the path. But if you don't know where you are going, if somebody comes to me and says, can you mentor me? And I say, what do you want to do? And they say, I don't know. It's impossible to mentor them. So I think this is the journey begins with uh, sharing your goals with the mentor, building a very strong relationship with mentor, a very trustworthy relationship with the mentor, and it may take some time. Sharing your challenges and opportunities and pluses and minuses with the mentor, and mentor will guide you from there. And mentors do what? Mentors will do three things. One, they will know you better. They will know your aspirations and capabilities. Based on that, they will help you aspire big, right? My mother aspired me big from very early stage. And so they'll help you aspire big. Then they will work with you. One second. Okay. So then they will help you become the best version of yourself. And that is how you achieve success. So mentors can hold your hand throughout this journey.
Well, parents or sometimes even teachers uh, very naturally are given to giving. But
Yes.
when we, through the journey, when we pick a mentor in a professionally, like you said, your mentor was a manager, many a times there is always a conflict, and there are people uh, who are also insecure, right? Because a personal aspiration can be damaging to our superiors also, our managers also, because they may see you as a threat in the future. So, in given such scenario, how do you handle this scenario?
Yes. So I think your direct reportee manager should not be your mentor. You can still learn from that person, but I think he or she should not be your mentor. Mentor should be maybe someone from the same company or some other company, where you can very, very candidly share your pluses, minuses, capabilities, or weaknesses, etc., which you may have reluctance in sharing with your directly reporting manager. So learn from every single person that comes in your life, including your manager. But a mentor has to be not generally not a good idea to have a mentor who is your reporting manager, but there are people around within the same company and other companies. And as your goals change, your mentor should change. And that journey is described in the book very well. How I changed. I mean, my mother did not remain my mentor throughout. Once I got into engineering and so on and so on, I made new mentors. And that's what people should do. You can have multiple mentors at the same time. Like I said, today I have two mentors who are for my profession, which is venture capital. And there are several mentors who are showing me how I can do social impact better.
Well, when you transition from mentor A to mentor B, if it is a family, perhaps they don't mind as much that, okay, you are in a different sphere and you need their advice more than my advice, which is a natural transition. But when you're in a professional ecosystem, when you transition from perhaps in your own context, you had 10 mentors through the journey. So, mentor 4 to mentor 5, when you transition, how do you handle that exit from one mentor? Because they will be looking at you in some certain fashion, and they may uh, want you to go in certain direction which they think is the right thing for you, since you also seek them as your mentor, but you have looked at another person because you see that is the direction you want to go. So how do you handle that aspect?
Yeah, so a couple of points. Very good question. You don't break relationship from your previous mentors, right? If they are true mentors, they also want you to succeed. And as your goals change, you need new guidance, right? So, for example, in my case, if you look at it, I had a mentor at Hewlett Packard when I was there. And then I decided that I want to be number one in my field, right? In United States, what kind of goal and aspiration it is? How many people can actually go and dream like that? But I did. Now it's very simple. It's most simple actually. So I said, okay, who is that number one person today? And this was Professor Aviram Barkohen from University of Minnesota. So I read his books, his papers. I knew about him. I described in my book when I heard him in a conference first time. I was like a 6-year-old child, as excited as a 6-year-old child, right? I met him, and all I said was, I'm a big admirer of yours, or something like that, right? And so I read everything that I could learn from him without disturbing him, because he was a busy, very successful person and so on. After I read all the material that was available, I started sort of going in the path that he had taken to be number one, right? So I also did some research. I also developed some products. I started publishing articles and so on. And then in one conference, I met him and I said, would you mentor me? And he said, who are you? And I described my journey, that I have been following you. You are my inspiration. I have read this book. I have read this paper. I have followed up on this research and have become this, etc., etc., etc. And which person will not say that I will mentor you if you have done this kind of work? So he accepted me. He said, of course, I'm happy to help you. And then he was my mentor. Now, what did I do with my previous mentor? I told him that, look, this is my journey now. I want to be number one in my field. And Professor Barkohen has agreed to mentor me. All the way, perfectly. So they just asked, how did you get him to mentor you? That's all. And then he said, carry on in your journey. If I can help you in any way, I'm always there for you. So there's no friction of any kind. And then interesting thing is that Professor Barkohen became a mentor. He guided me on how and what should be done. Then after that, he became my colleague, literally. We were presenting the papers in various conferences together. I also wrote a book and so on. So he was not coming down. I was going up. And that is how the journey was. He's unfortunately no longer there, but our relationship changed from inspirational person to mentor to my colleague and a friend. And no hard feeling of, and then after that, When I became number one and I worked with Steve Jobs and many, many other things I did, then my journey became, I want to do my own startup. Okay, so shift in goal. Professor Bar Cohen hadn't done that. So I went to Prakash Bhalerao, who had done several startups. And again, I did some homework before I reached him, and then he became my mentor. And then John Chambers became my mentor. And then, like I said, now two VCs are my mentors. And so it's a journey, and there are no hard feelings. And you never, I mean, I truly appreciate what my mentors have done for me, although I have moved on. So there are no hard feelings, and I still have conversations with my old mentors whenever possible.
Wonderful. Actually, you also put it in a very nice way that how do you uh, uh, set your goal and how do you go after it? And even to get a mentor to agree to mentor you, you actually had to prove yourself to be worthy enough. So you actually worked on it. You studied him. You followed that route. You moved up the value chain to show him that you are already in the course, which motivated him to agree to mentor you. So it's just not that throw one stone. It's a lot of work, a lot of hard
That's
work.
right. That's right. That's right. And that's where I'll bring the book, because the book helps you take the first 5 steps. So if
So
anybody wants me to mentor, this is the request and message I get all the time, right? Can you please mentor me? And obviously, I want to mentor 1 million people, but I ask them, have you read my book? What have you done after you have read my book? Show me your short-term, long-term goals and what are you willing to do, etc., etc. And many people just want you to mentor, right? So in our mythology, right, Guru did not accept the students just like that. They made sure that the students were very, very keen. But if you do these things, so where this is where the book comes up. Like I said, it will help you. It will become your first mentor, much more structured and much better than 90% of the mentors that you will get, because I am talking about the proven technology. And but I'm not reluctant to advise you to have face-to-face mentors as well. Actually, I'm saying I encourage that, but also follow the book, because book has lot of good tips in it, lot of good structured process in it, which will help you succeed in whatever your goals are.
well, I'm very tempted to dive into the conversation on the book, but one last question before we do that. Uh, Often we come across people who introduce themselves as a mentor, rightly so because they have achieved significant success in their career, profession, whatever, and they want to meaningfully contribute to the community. So, I've been part of many startup ecosystems, even from my alma mater to outside. So, I see a lot of these very accomplished professionals willing to offer their time with the startup entrepreneurs and founders uh, by mentoring them. But often I find that there are many people who have been accomplished true to their own capabilities, but they've come linearly in a professional career. Just to put it in a context, see, most of these people, even if they have been CEOs for large corporations, struggles of a startup founder is that how do I pay next month's salary and rent and bills? It's a small thing. But many of these people who have worked for very large corporations and have dealt with millions and billions of dollar deals may have never had to ask that question even once. So, what's your advice to people, mentors, to reset their own learning to mentor startup founders who have these survival struggle
At
while they
stake.
also want
Excellent.
to achieve bigger goals?
Yeah, excellent question. And this, you are absolutely right. I see so many people, I mentor this, I mentor people, etc., etc. So the intention is good. They are willing to give their time and share their knowledge. All should be greatly appreciated. But sharing your experience and knowledge and answering few questions of a mentee is not mentoring. It's one pillar of mentoring, but there's a lot more that comes in a mentoring situation. So, for example, people will meet for half an hour or 1 hour, and they will just have some conversation. They'll give some tips. They will share their experiences. Okay, like I said, this is one pillar of mentoring, but this is not mentoring, right? 1/10 or however you want to describe it. So my book is very good for people who want to mentor also, because it walks you through a structured process of mentoring, right? So many times I tell, for example, if you want to mentor someone, so yes, hygienic discussion you can have whether the chemistry matches or not and all that. But after that, don't talk about work for at least next 2 meetings. Just have coffee with the person, tell about yourself as a human being, and let the other person also tell about that. Build the trustworthy relationship first. That is the beginning of the mentoring. Right? And while you are doing that, you are also assessing this person's capability and aspirations, etc. Because everyone cannot become a Rahul Dravid or a Narayan Murthy. So unnecessarily putting so much pressure on people that they get depressed, that is also not mentoring. Right? So that is where mentor comes into being. And my recommendation to all mentors to read the book. Many mentors have actually read the book and have communicated to me that thank you for giving us a framework to work with. Now, coming to your second part of the question, ideal mentor is the mentor who has been there, done that, and has traveled the path that you want to travel. So if you want to learn tennis, you won't go to a cricket coach, would you? Right? Similarly here, if you want to do a startup, you will go to a startup mentor who has been there, done that. He or she knows your pain, knows your concerns, knows your challenges, and can have empathy and help you overcome that. So if you have a preference, you need to select a mentor who has been there, done that. Right? So why did I pick Avram Bar Cohen? Because he was already there where I wanted to get.
Right.
Right. So I think it's very important. So I think you are absolutely right. If it's going to a CEO of Microsoft to mentor for a startup, is like going to a cricket coach for learning tennis. That person will be helpful, no doubt in my mind. But they just don't have context, they don't have relevance, and they can't empathize with your struggle. So I think at least one of the mentors, that person may still teach you leadership. That person may still teach you managing large teams. So there is something to learn. But I think at least one mentor should be who has gone through your struggles and has traveled the path that you would like to travel.
Well, sorry for extending this part, but most times it so happens that the startup founders don't have the luxury of choosing a mentor in a startup ecosystem. What happens in a startup ecosystem? I'm sure you're familiar because you're also part of multiple ecosystems. So that what happens is that the ecosystem allocates a mentor to the startup founder. Because they possibly come with the same industry background, such. But many a times this core aspect of having been there, done that from a startup founder versus being a professional in that domain or industry. So that is where the founder may not have an option. So maybe some words to the startup ecosystem players.
Excellent question again. And I think, so take that mentor, that your incubator or wherever you are doing your startup, if they assign a mentor, take them, learn whatever you can from that person, right? But try to look for a person who has been there, done that. So there is nobody saying you can have only one mentor, right? But important thing is that, so find out what person would be good. If you are doing a fintech, for example, I will say go and find a fintech mentor. Now you will come back and say, well, how do I get a Nitin Kamath? Why would he pay attention to you? But I described my example earlier to you, and I'll describe another example. When I was doing my startup in US, one girl came and she said, I just want to work with you. I had become number one in my field at that time. So obviously I was known. And I said, I don't have any opening. And she said, I'm not asking for salary. I'll start working with you and pay me when you are ready to pay. But I want to work with you. How can you say no? How can you say no? So I think become worthy of that mentor first, right? And then you need to also, another aspect I cover in the book also, is that a mentor is a person, not a cheerleader for you. Mentor will tell you some things, may tell you some things that you don't want to hear. Actually, a true mentor will tell you lots of things that you don't want to hear. And if you don't respect the person and your desire to become that person is not there, you will not take them seriously. Then it's waste of time for both. And mentor will cut you off very quickly. So I think that is the answer to your question. I think, find a mentor. If you have a desire, like they say in our mythology, when the time is right, Guru will arrive. And when you have reached where Guru wants to take you, Guru will disappear.
Well, you also brought out one other very interesting point where there are founders who seek advisors or mentor uh, only because you carry certain things, as in you're being seen in certain network, or you're identified as an expert or a specialist. So they just want you as an advisor, but at the same time, they don't want your advice. They only want you to be more of a echo chamber for them. They just want to agree with them. So if you oppose, they will say okay, and they will come around again to convince you. So, do
So,
you think mentor should just plug out, or
so it's a very good question, and only someone who has done mentoring or has been mentored can ask this question. So I'm trying to simplify the answer to this question, right? So all startups that are very, very successful today have been told by somebody significant that this is not going to work. Whether it is Google or it is Microsoft or it is Hewlett Packard or it is Cisco, some significant people told them that this is not going to work. Now, they are not mentors as such, but these are significant people who have said. So at one end, I will say that startup entrepreneurs or any person should have conviction on their belief. Right? But that doesn't mean you don't listen to the advice or suggestions that are given to you that go against you. Actually, the wonderful learning opportunity is right in that intersection. Right? So my suggestion is you learn from them. A good mentor will never say, no, this is not possible. Right? A mentor will show you the path how to get there. This is how you will get there. Are you ready to put that kind of work? Right? And mentor's job is to help you aspire big. Right? And what does aspire big mean? Let me just give you one or two examples. Take Mahendra Singh Dhoni's example. People outside India may not know him, but he was captain of Indian cricket team. Right? What was he before? He was a ticket collector at a railway station. Right? He didn't aspire to become station master. He didn't aspire to become senior ticket collector. He aspired to play cricket for India, and he did. Right? This is what big aspiration means. So mentor's job is to support aspiration. But then what did Dhoni do to become that? He worked on his fitness. He improved his game. He had many, many coaches. He did psychological training. He played lots of cricket, right? So that is the second part of the book where I talk about becoming the best version of yourself. How do you become the best version of yourself? And again, mentor's job is to guide you to that. Everyone will not become Dhoni. Everyone will not become Narayan Murthy, but take to your full potential. That is also mentor's job.
Right.
So I think two answers. Don't lose your conviction. If you truly believe you can be the next Microsoft, continue believing it. But then when people say things that are not supporting you, pay attention. What are they saying? Why are they saying something like that? Is there something I can learn from them? Right? And then keep your conviction on, become the best version of yourself. And again, mentor will guide you to do that. And hopefully you will become worthy of your aspirations. So many people have done it. I'm sure you can do it too.
Right. Well, I'm sorry I told earlier itself that was the last question, but this is really the last question
Sure,
of this.
sure, sure, sure.
One thing is that invariably at an early stage, founders, while they're pursuing and building product or a specific technology-driven product, it takes time and it takes a lot of resources also to build that product. And in the meantime, it's a natural thing, particularly if they're not funded, right? These days, funding is available when you are ready with the product. Most times, you don't have that luxury of getting the money with an idea. So, given that, the founders are required to hustle. And many a times, most entrepreneurs have been hustling all through to sustain themselves while trying to build something, the next big thing. So, invariably, it so happens that the hustling becomes somewhere a second nature. And when you come in as a mentor to them and you want to tell them that, listen, hustling is good so that you keep paying your bills. But at the same time, don't go so much into hustling because your product focus is getting lost. So in the bargain, somewhere it's very difficult line to draw where you stop, where you don't stop, because you also have to pay the bill. So how do you advise mentors and the founders to handle this hustle aspect, which is it's not an evil. I don't think some people say it's evil, but I think it's a very necessary part. But at the same time, sometimes it becomes a hurdle in your making it to the next big thing.
Yeah, excellent question again. I think being a hustler is very important skill for an entrepreneur, because you will never have enough resource, whether it's money or people or anything else, to execute what you want to execute. So if you don't have enough resource and you have to manage it, hustling is very important part, right? But I think you need to know, how do you, so at times hustling is very important. But if you are in hustling mode throughout, that is telling you are not doing something right. There'll be periods when you have to hustle. But as part of an entrepreneur, you have to get the resources to go out of hustling mode. Raise money. So now you have money, now you have resource. Now you come out of hustling mode. Or hustle for sales, something else. But if you are hustling for the same problems for too long, you are not able to solve the problems you are facing, and maybe a mentor can help you. Now, let me give you a few examples of this, because people will say, give me an example. So there is a company now called Thrive. It was a company called Golfland. They were actually digitizing golf playing, etc. And a company came to me. The founder was Dhruv, and he talked to me about the business plan, this, that. He had raised the money and so on. And he wanted me to mentor him. And due to various reasons, I had agreed. New people and so on. And so first thing I said is that, Dhruv, this is not going to work. Your plan is not going to scale beyond a certain level, and you will struggle to raise money. It is, the opportunity cost is also too much for you. You have a lot more potential than this startup requires. And the founder listened to me, totally pivoted the company. This is about 5 years back. The company may had revenue of 1 or 2 crores, may had raised probably 3 crores of money or something of that sort. And he pivoted the company based on mentoring relationship. And just to cut the story short, today that name of the company is Thrive. And they have just got a term sheet at 800 crore valuation. Right? And if you talk to founder, and his feedback is in the book itself, by the way. Right? So in chapter, one of the chapters where a bunch of people I have mentored have talked about how mentoring has helped them. He's one of them, and you can read about him. But this is the power of mentoring. Now, why me? I have been there, done that. Right? And two, very important for the point you were mentioning is he listened. He didn't become defensive. He defended for a while, but then he understood what I was saying. And then he understood, he pivoted, he enlarged his services area, he hired people. Every single person that he hired was interviewed by me, and bunch of things we did. But this is the success. And now whoever is funding them at 800 crore, you know it very well, has a belief that this company will go to 8,000 crores. So how about from 2 crore to 8,000 crore? In a 7-8 year kind of time frame, and where mentoring has played absolute critical role. So here an example of, I told him that this is not going to work. He could have become defensive about it. Then I showed him the path where it could be done, and partnering with him and supporting him all the way. And it's not like it was all straight line success. There were ups and downs, and our relationship never changed. His trust in me never changed, and rest is history. So this is an example, and this has been repeated in multiple startups, by the way, that I have mentored. So it's not like one very corner case story. It is something that can be repeated. So if you have a good mentor who has been there, done that, and you have good chemistry match, and you can develop trust with that person, I will say to mentee that listen very carefully. To mentors, I have a message that if you think that you can't help a mentee beyond a certain level, tell him or her that now you need another mentor. And if possible, you go and get him a mentor. You are much more resourceful than the mentee. And I have done that many times. To my own children, who I mentored, of course, from very early childhood, I have given them multiple mentors who they can talk to. They obviously talk to me, but they also talk to other mentors.
Right. So can we plan another conversation with you for the book conversation focused on the book?
Happy to talk. It may take a bit of time, but we'll figure that out. No problem. So continue. Since you are enjoying this discussion, since you are taking in this direction, I will give you a separate 1 hour on book. Let's continue on this path.
Okay. So now that we continue on this conversation, how do see, there are mentors who have expectation of equity. In fact, I have some mentors, friends who say that why are you not taking up equity with the founder, with the venture? I have certain reasons why I don't do that, but I want to hear from you. What is the right way of engaging a mentor at an early stage? Because considering that we all our conversation till now is about you need to pick the right mentor for the right journey. So there are some mentors who just make the perfect fit at the very early stage, but times you may have to change the track from a scale point, and you need to bring in different mentors who can help you scale as well.
Yes.
So how do you bring about the transactional, the engagement aspect to the mentorship?
Yeah. So I think if you have developed good relationship with the mentor, and mentor has been there, done that, and you have built a relationship of trust, etc., don't hesitate to give equity. Actually, I encourage you to give equity, right? And make sure equity vests over a period of time, so it will take 3 year, 4 year for it to vest. And if things don't work out for some reason, it's not like the mentor got all the equity, right? Now, so the plus is that mentor has some benefit in this game, right? So he or she will give you more time, more effort, open his or her contact list and help you more and more. So I am for giving equity to mentors, but don't give it too early either, and don't give just because the profile looks interesting, right? When I get the startup decks, right, there's always a page on advisors, and many times I find these people have given way too much equity for what they are offering to the company. Just for their name, etc., is it may not be worth it. So hard to sort of make rules without a specific situation. But on one hand, I encourage founders to seriously think about giving equity to the mentors or advisors, whatever you call them. On the other hand, I will also tell them, make sure it vests over a period so that if things don't work out, you are protected. And for mentors, I have a suggestion that when things have gone beyond your mentoring capability, tell the founder that, look, you need a different mentor now. That's the ethics you should have as a mentor.
Any framework for uh, kind of measuring an advisor or mentor as much, right, from the founders as well, to say that, okay, the advisor mentor continue to be effective in their network. I mean, everything that they are doing for the firm.
Yeah, that's also a good question. I think you will be the judge. As a founder, you will be the judge. So I think if the suggestions that this mentor is giving, making sense, working, you are trying some things, it's working, your relationship hasn't changed, chemistry is matching well, keep going. Keep going. There is no stopping. I mean, if person has built $100 million company before, and you are you are at $5 million level or something, there's a lot of advice that you can use, right? So no reason to change, but the time to separate will be when your relationship is affected. You can't trust the judgment of that mentor, and then for various reasons, if it's not working out, you move on. Now, for trust, I'll tell you a story because we have only a few minutes left. Let me tell you what trust actually means. Is there was a person who was hiking and going up the mountain, and it was becoming dark and dark, and he kept on going up, trying to reach the peak before it's too dark. He couldn't reach the peak, and it became dark, and he was connected at the peak with a rope, so he was using that to go up. So he slipped, and he came down God knows how many feet, and he was hanging in the air, and there's dark, so he has no clue where he's hanging, and the weather started becoming cold, and he knew that he's in tough spot. So he prayed to the God, God save me. And God came and he said, save me. God said, cut the rope. And he said, what are you talking about? I am asking you to save me. You are saying cut the rope. So God said, that's it. So he went away. God went away. After a while, the person again felt cold, and he knew that he's in a very tough situation. So he again prayed to the God. God again came. And he said, save me. And God said, cut the rope. And the person didn't. God went away. Next morning, he was found dead, frozen, 4 feet above the ground. Right? So you need to have a relationship with a mentor where you can cut the rope. The reason I am giving you an example is that some advice may come which may be against your belief or against your expectations. But if you have good relationship with mentor and you trust the mentor, then sometimes you may have to trust his or her judgment. Every day we trust our doctor's judgment, don't we? He says, you are ready for surgery. What do you do? Well, obviously, this person has been there, done that, knows what he or she is talking about. Let's do it. So trust means that. So the story I told you earlier for Golfland story or Thrive story, we changed the whole business, changed the model, changed the people, changed so many things. And many times it was counter to the belief of the founder. But our relationship was so strong that he kept on cutting the rope, one after the other, and rest is history.
Wonderful. I think this is where this book makes a lot of difference, and we will bring Dr. Vivek Mansingh once again to talk more in detail about the book, what motivated him to write, and the reasons he picked the people that he chose to talk for this book from a research point, and also those conversations are in this, and there are so many other stories, some of which he already mentioned. So uh, do come back, and in fact, all the links, social handles of Dr. Vivek Mansingh are right below this podcast, and also the link to buy the book. So please go dig, follow him, and he's very approachable. You probably already figured out. And most importantly, you know the way to reach him. First, you should get this hold and go through it, and then if you reach him, you will have a better context to engage him as well as himself. So, with that, thank you. Hope you enjoyed this conversation as much as I did. And it's been a while. We've had challenges in getting him to time to sit and do this conversation, but I think it's been worth it, and I hope you will enjoy and appreciate it as much. And do share this across in your network to all those you think who will appreciate it as much, and enjoy the ride. Dr. Vivek Mansingh, once again, thank you so much.
Can I use 30 seconds here before
Please,
before we
1 minute.
close? Okay, so I think a couple of things, right? So I have you look at my LinkedIn. First of all, join me on social media. I'm in all platforms. LinkedIn is my favorite, but I'm also on Twitter. I'm also on Instagram. I'm also on Facebook. But join anywhere, because I do one post every week, which is like a mentoring, online mentoring. You can learn something from it. Number 2 point, I speak all over the world, and I have spoken on topics of innovation, excellence, leadership, and many technologies, etc., etc. All the time I was asked a question that if you have to recommend one book, which book that will be? And I have always struggled with that answer, because there wasn't really a book that I could recommend as single book. But my book is the product of that question. If there's only one book one has to read, which book this will be? Read this book. I think we will come back with another discussion on the book. I've made sure the book is very inexpensive, because my goal is to impact 1 million people through this book. The book is relevant to you no matter what age you are, no matter what profession you are, male, female, or any geography. We will have a separate session on the book, where I'll answer a lot of questions and the book's journey. Until that, enjoy. Look forward to catching up with you soon.
Thank you so much. Wonderful.